4. Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP, mornings with Brian Haldane, off and running. Brian here with you, John LaBeouf producing. We're getting you ready for a Friday morning show. We're getting you ready for the weekend. We're getting ready to take you into the Thanksgiving week. We are getting you ready for, second week of high school football, LSU Vandy. Yeah, we got it all, y'all. We got a lot of ground to cover on today's show, as it's looking like this is going to be probably the last day of the special session on tax reform. So we'll dive in. Let's go. Top stories and trending. Let's go.
Number 5.
We don't normally have a sports story here, but LSU football commit Bryce Underwood has flipped his commitment from LSU to his home state school of Michigan yesterday evening, just 2 weeks before National Signing Day. Underwood is rated as the top player in the 2025 class, and needless to say, that would make him the number 1 overall quarterback, and he is a big piece of the puzzle for LSU's recruiting class next year.
Number 4.
The state legislature has settled on the final details of Governor Jeff Landry's tax package, but they adjourned last night without taking any action because a number of staff members were still drafting the final language of various bills. First, the Senate and the House, they're expected to approve the package today. That would end the special session. It's slated to go, on the schedule, it can go as late as Monday at 6 p.m. The Senate reconvenes at 10 o'clock this morning.
Number 3.
A Baton Rouge police officer was placed on administrative leave after shooting a person during a domestic disturbance early yesterday morning. Officers were dispatched to a North Sherwood Forest Drive home around 1:14 a.m. after receiving reports that one roommate attacked another with a knife. Police said one officer confronted the knife-wielding man and asked him unsuccessfully to drop the blade. The officer then shot the violent roommate in the shoulder as they walked toward the officer with said knife. State police is investigating the incident further because it's an officer-involved shooting. You got to take it out of the house.
Number 2.
Ted James is endorsing Sharon Weston Broome. It was announced yesterday he would be endorsing the incumbent Baton Rouge mayor. This is, of course, ahead of the runoff, which is on December 7th. The endorsement comes after a pretty nasty campaign in the primary between the two, or the general election between the two. Ted James made no bones about it. The city needs to go into a different direction. And then, meanwhile, Sharon Weston Broome's campaign secretly recorded Ted James and used his own words against him in an ad that ran just before Election Day.
Number 1.
Speaking of the election, early voting opens today for the December 7th election. Early voting normally opens for a little week plus type of window, but it's going to run longer this time because there are going to be more closures throughout. Open today, it'll run tomorrow, then of course off on Sunday, then back open next week, then off on Thanksgiving Day, then off on that following Sunday before, I believe, closing out on that Monday after Thanksgiving. What's trending there, John?
Well, former Florida Congressman Matt Gaetz has withdrawn his name as the next Attorney General, and the president-elect didn't even have to leave the state of Florida for his next nominee, Pam Bondi.
So we don't even get the chance to ask if it's going to be Jeff Landry? Just take that away from us, Donald Trump. We don't get to say, oh, is he back in the running now? Because now we already know it's the former AG of Florida is who Pam Bondi is.
And so this comes 6 hours after the fact. So I mean, he had his eyes on her.
Well, yeah,
he had to have, right? I mean,
so
kind of
much so
move.
that you have to wonder if Gaetz wasn't put up there just to get out of the way. Now, here's an interesting question: Is Gaetz going to go back to Congress? He said he said he's not, and he resigned from Congress. But the thing is, he resigned from this Congress. Every year they'll swear in a new Congress.
Good point. Yeah.
So, or after elections, which happened this year, they'll swear in a new Congress. So, he resigned from this Congress, not the one that's being sworn in, and the one that he was elected to back in November.
Yeah, fascinating take. The Illinois Supreme Court overturned actor Jussie Smollett's conviction on charges that he staged a racist and homophobic attack against himself in downtown Chicago in 2019 and lied to police. This is always funny. This has been funny. I just hadn't heard about the guy in a while.
Yeah,
And
and
it's
then
just-
they overturned his conviction. So
Yeah,
basically,
I mean,
you incited a race war.
yeah.
You know, you stoked the flames of hatred in this country. And no, you're cool. Just
Yeah,
roll.
it's all good.
I understand there's some legalese behind it, though, like
I
something
know.
about a deal that he cut or something to that effect. But man, does that not hate being lied to?
Yeah.
I don't like being lied to. And I really don't like being the tenor of the conversation in this country where it's at on race.
Yeah.
To have somebody who goes out of their way to further that conversation, to have somebody go out of their way to further exacerbate that conversation. And then, no, you're cool, Jussie. Roll out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate.
Awesome. I'll see you over at
Yeah.
Subway.
Oh, yeah. Hey, MSNBC's Rachel Maddow is taking a $5 million pay cut amid growing uncertainty about the channel's future.
The biggest surprise to me in that story is that Rachel Maddow made $5 million. And then I read the whole story.
She's like, I'll take a pay cut.
She makes $30 million.
Oh, okay.
What makes Rachel Maddow worth $30 million? What is there? Okay, so first of all, there is nothing on MSNBC that's worth $30 million. And
Right.
it's just
Yeah.
numbers wise and whatnot. But my word, Rachel
Making bank,
Maddow
man.
can afford to just take a $5 million pay cut and roll out.
Yeah. Wow.
Oh. All right. We got a lot of sports to cover, so let's go ahead and break it here. Yeah, it's 6:11 at Talk 107.3 FM. Take a quick break. When we come back, we'll talk LSU football, we'll talk Southern football, we'll talk LSU basketball. We've got it all next.
Yeah, I realized she was making $30 million. My God.
6:14 at Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP, mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. LSU hosting Vanderbilt tomorrow, looking to bounce back from a 3-game losing streak. Although, man, after last night's news, it feels like so much more than that. It is. Brian Kelly's got a difficult job on his hands right now, and that's keeping things on the rails. If you would want to say that they're not off the rails completely right now, anyway. But you lose 3 in a row. It's been more than a month since you've won a football. It's been more than a month since you've won a football game. And then you lose your number 1 commit in the nation, which was the absolute, biggest piece of your recruiting class. Still got 2 weeks to go until signing day, but man, or the early signing period. But man, that stung last night. Only way to fix it is to win. And even though you're not going to be in the SEC championship or the playoff, a win's a win. So Coach Brian Kelly says his team and the coaching staff they've been as disappointed as we have, but they're committed to playing better.
Coach us hard, coach us fair, and help us get better each and every week. And when you get that kind of captive audience, that's what you want in coaching. And so we got that group here, and we're going to go back out swinging and battling again this Saturday against a really good Vanderbilt team.
There's been a myriad of problems with LSU football in this last month. The offense has just not been putting up points on the board like they had been earlier in the season. You had 92 plays last Saturday. 92! You held the ball for over 40 minutes and only punched in the end zone once. So what do you do to fix things on offense? Maybe where's the open deep balls? Where's the threats that are beyond just moving the ball 2 yards at a time?
We were 0 for 4 on some of the deep shots that we had. We had some players open. We've got to connect. And sometimes those explosive plays are going to lead to more, obviously more points. We haven't had as many explosive plays in the last 3 weeks, and it's limited our scoring.
Meanwhile, Vanderbilt's been really not very Vanderbiltish this year. This is one of the best seasons we've ever seen from the Commodores, at least in my lifetime. They've got their first bowl appearance since before COVID. Their head coach, Clark Lee, is not banking on the Tigers' struggles to continue.
They're well coached. It's a prideful program and a really talented roster. The thing about football is a lot of times because of the space between games, there's enough room to flush a bad result and a good result and kind of shift focus to the next one. So, I'm anticipating their best performance of the year and again, in a hostile environment.
I don't know how hostile the environment's going to be, though, because, number one, you're out of contention for anything real. A bowl game is not the goal of an LSU Tiger fan. And then you get that first cold snap, and Hunter's backed me up here. The itch is to get in the woods, not to get in Tiger Stadium after that. So kickoff will be 6:55 over on our sister station, Eagle 98.1. Southern Jaguars have the week off. They're getting ready for the Bayou Classic coming up. I believe that's next weekend. Moving from college football up to the pro ranks, your NFL week started right here on Talk 107.3 FM. What a game last night. 24-19, the final score. The then 2-8, now 3-8 Cleveland Browns beat the then 8-2, now 8-3 Pittsburgh Steelers 24-19. The field was an absolute mess. There was rain, there was snow. Jameis Winston, if you have not yet, and I cannot find just the audio of it. I can find his video with other audio mixed in. Jameis Winston's post-game comments, I miss him. I want him back in New Orleans. He was off to such a great start a couple seasons ago before getting hurt, and it just didn't work out here. But man, alive, he is just the best there is. As far as just a personal story of turning your own life around, turning your perceptions around, and all of it. But your Thursday Night Football home is right here on Talk 107.3 FM, as is your Monday Night Football home. Closing out before we get you to the Fox Business Report, and that'll be LSU men's basketball. On the road, they are taking on Pittsburgh in the Greenbrier over there in West Virginia. Pittsburgh comes into this game 5-0. Of course, LSU is 4-0 right now, though they did have some struggles against a Charleston Southern team that wasn't very good. But, yeah, you got LSU and Pittsburgh, 1:30 this afternoon, also on our sister station, Eagle 98.1. Yours truly will be producing that one. So We got a break. We got the Fox Business Report coming up right now. When we come back, sticking with sports a little bit, but we're going to pivot to high school, kind of run down the local teams that are playing tonight. I recorded this. All right, let's head back on. Let's head on back to the Shawbills Tire Traffic Center as things are looking good on the interstates to start off your morning. You're going to find some nominal volume over on 12 westbound coming in from Livingston Parish. Nothing to make you want to change your route though. Barely have to tap the brakes. 10 westbound coming in from Ascension looks great. 10 eastbound coming in from West Baton Rouge looking great as well. I-110 seems pretty clear, and both bridges are looking good. On your surface streets in the city of Baton Rouge, we're looking great. No accidents to report in the city of Baton Rouge. However, there's a traffic crash in the roadway from about 15 minutes ago up in Central. Jor at Solitude. That's the only accident being reported right now. Jor at Solitude up in Central. That's your look at traffic from the Shawbills Tire Traffic Center. 625 Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP, mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. So I know what I'm doing for lunch today. Since I'm producing LSU basketball at 1:30, that means I'll be right across the street from Tiger Stadium promptly before that in the Nicholson Gateway Shopping Center, grabbing myself some lunch from Mathern's, and I'll be earning cash towards more groceries because I got the Mathern's Rewards app, and you could be using that to earn cash towards more groceries every time you shop as well. Look, Mathern's is your game day headquarters, your unofficial game day headquarters, right? It's just there as such a convenient stop-off when you're bouncing around campus, when you're going from tailgate to tailgate. Pop on into Mathern's right there and get yourself a refresh. Get yourself a cold one. Get yourself a bowl of jambalaya. Get yourself, they got the deli open all day long, so whatever it is you want to eat. And, oh, by the way, as the holidays are approaching, now's a great time to tell you about Mathern's.com. Check out their catering menus. Let them help you out this Thanksgiving. There's no reason for you to spend every waking hour in the kitchen leading up to Thanksgiving dinner. Let them take a couple sides. Order a couple sides in bulk. Or let them do the whole spread. They can do that. And it doesn't stop with Thanksgiving. They're here for you throughout the holiday season. If you're hosting a Christmas party, if your company's got a Christmas party, whatever the case might be, it'll start at Mathern's.com. So, it's round 2 of the LHSAA playoffs. And, man, I was running through. There are a ton of Baton Rouge area, like the greater listening area. Baton Rouge, let's call it like Brack's area, right? Baton Rouge area chamber covers 9 parishes. There's a ton of local teams that have advanced on in the high school playoffs. I mean, let's start on the non-select side. Y'all, this is a serious amount of representation. West Washita's at Central. Ruston is Zachary at Ruston. Ooh, I didn't write down who was where on that one. Zachary and Ruston will square off. And Walker is at South Side. That's just in Division 1. You've got those 3 in Division 2. Franklinton is at West Feliciana. Bruley is at Franklin Parish. And then Northwest is going to be at Plaquemine. Division 3, and we're staying on the non-select side here, but Division 3 has St. James at Donaldsonville, and Gina is over at Port Allen. In Division 4, North Iberville is at, General Trask. Also in Division 4, East Feliciana is at South Plaquemines. And that's just the non-select side. I mean, over on the select side, if you start on Division 4 and move your way up, on the select side, Southern Lab is at St. Frederick. And then you got, we count Catholic of Point Capee. We can count Point Capee within the listening area. Catholic of Point Capee is hosting Washita Christian, and Opelousas Catholic is at Ascension Catholic. That's Division 4 on the select side. Division 3 on the select side. Dunham is at Parkview. That's a double dip of within the listening or within the Baton Rouge area. Bunky's at Amite. You got Pope John Paul's at Episcopal. And then moving up to Division 2. I apologize, y'all. My computer's running slower than it's supposed to be. In Division 2, there is Madison Preps at St. Charles. Strum is at Haynes Academy. E.D. White is at Livingston Collegiate. And U-High is, no. My apologies. Booker T. Washington is advancing. U-High was supposed to be in that game before that decision came down earlier in this week. Wrapping up with the big dogs over in Select Division 1. Catholic is hosting East Jefferson. That would be your big one locally there. Catholic hosting East Jefferson. Only other Division 1 game I'm looking at is, of course, my St. Paul's Wolves, who are up in North Louisiana to take on Bird. C.E. Bird. Let's go, Wolves. By the way, after Catholic moves on from this game, after they handle East Jefferson, they're going to play the winner of Rummel and McDonough. So if that's Rummel, that should be a pretty heavyweight battle right there. Next week is Thanksgiving, and that means we're kind of getting ready for the holidays as well. Talk 107.3 wants to help you out on that front. We have, once again, teamed up with the folks over at Citizens Bank and Trust to help lighten your financial burdens in the next year. It is the ultimate holiday gift with our Home for the Holiday sweepstakes. Imagine 2025 with your rent or mortgage covered up to $18,000. We are here to make your holidays a whole lot brighter. Just sign up at talk1073.com and you can be living stress-free next year. The winner will be notified on December 20th. The Home for the Holiday sweepstakes presented by Citizens Bank and Trust. We got news, traffic, and weather. Stepping away from the headlines for just a second, wrestler Titus O'Neil joins us next. All right, that's all done. I need to go cut some audio during the Titus O'Neil interview, so I'm gonna go across to 104.5 right now. Just hit weather and let it roll. All right, I'll be back, y'all. my championship journey to my greatest title. That would be Dad. The author of that book is Titus O'Neil. He joins us now. Titus, good morning. Welcome to Talk 107.3. How are you, man?
I'm doing great. How are you, sir?
I'm doing very well as well. The book, fascinating book, Wrestling with Fatherhood. As a father myself, I obviously dove into this one head first. Before we get into what's in the book and walking through, some of what you've had on your journey through life, what made you want to put pen to paper in the first place?
Just because my journey is going into a father myself. I never grew up with a dad. My mom was raped at 11 years old, had me at the age of 12. I grew up poor. Wasn't really exposed to real positive male role models until my teenage years. And I recognized once I lost my best friend at 13 years old, even though his dad was a known drug dealer, he was also a good dude. He just chose the wrong profession. And I remember when he passed away, my best friend saying, to many people, my dad was a bad dude, but to me, he was a hero. And I said at that point right then, it didn't matter where life took me. If I had children, I wanted to be a hero to my children.
What does it take to do that? What does it take to be labeled a hero to your children?
Be present. A lot of guys sometimes feel like because they don't make enough money or they don't have a certain type of home or whatever it may be, that's what makes them a greater dad. Those things are nice, but at the end of the day, like if you're present with your kids, that's the greatest gift that you'll ever be able to give them, because there will be a time where your presence is not as readily available. Like right now with my children, I don't see my kids every day. I see them via FaceTime or phone call, but they're all doing their thing in college and going to class and doing the adult thing. And I wish when I come home sometimes outside of my French bulldogs, that I could see one of them come up and give me a hug. I wish that I could just hop in the car with them and go watch a movie. I wish that I can hop in the car with them and go to get something to eat. So being present, to me is the most quality to any dad out there, because that's what they want more so than anything. They might ask you for shoes, they might ask you for video games, they might ask you to go to shows or go to games or whatever. But being present at their practice, being present at home, watching their favorite shows on TV, those things I think are what anybody that looks up to their father can makes them want to be like their dad.
We're talking with Titus O'Neil, the author of Wrestling with Fatherhood. Titus is a WWE champion, to be sure. Titus, one of my takeaways was not shying away from the uncomfortable conversations there. It's a big part of fatherhood, man. You dive right into it.
Yeah, I think a lot of times, people, when kids ask questions, to their parents, why can't, why, but why? And that answer is, when I was growing up, it was because I said so. That's not an answer. And sometimes you're going to have to talk to your kids about some stuff that you may not feel comfortable doing, but I'd much rather my kids be able to talk to me about it than to go talk to someone else about it. And then that other person gives them the completely opposite answer of what I would have gave them, and it leads them down the road of disaster. I want to be able to help fully navigate my kids through life. And in order for me to do that, my kids need to feel like they can be vulnerable with me. They need to feel like they can come talk to me about anything. They need to be able to know that they can vent to me and not be judged or looked at a certain way. And I think that any kid that has that freedom to do so will essentially be stronger and better to go out into the world and fight for themselves and be able to argue points for themselves without being disrespectful, but being very direct.
You have, and I'm understating this greatly, you have quite the physical presence. How does that affect fatherhood? When you can have an overbearing presence, just, you're a big dude. You have to lean on being emotionally vulnerable a little bit more, don't you?
You definitely do, and you also have to be very cognizant of the fact that you don't want your kids to be afraid of you. You don't want your kids to worry about getting a whooping or worry about angering you. My kids never really had to worry about their dad getting, getting angry to the point where hands were going to get put on them. Yeah, it was a possibility, but my kids just grew up not wanting to disappoint me. And I'm in the same boat. I don't want to disappoint my kids. That's why you'll never see me on TMZ getting a DUI or domestic violence issue or whatever. I've done my best to live a life of transparency, but also a life of responsibility and being responsible. And if I'm out being irresponsible, I can't teach my kids how to be responsible. And so I think that regardless of what size you are, 6'4", 275, or 5'8", 135, your presence and what you stand for and what you teach your kids through positive communication and open communication can be the difference between whether or not your child is honoring you out of respect or honoring you out of fear. I wanted my kids to honor me out of respect. Therefore, I tried to be a respectful person for them to follow.
We got just a couple minutes left with Titus O'Neil. Before being a champion in wrestling, you had a football career before that. Doing a little digging there. You're on in Baton Rouge right now. Doing a little digging right there. You happen to be part of the Florida team. Do what?
Go Gators.
Yeah, you happen to be part of the Florida team that came into Baton Rouge in 1997. It's the first time LSU ever beat a number one. My plan, Titus, was to kind of, talk a little trash, but after last Saturday, I don't think I can do that.
Yeah. We as much as you wanted to relive the glory days, and there were some great days indeed. And I honestly, in 1997, that was I tell people all the time, aside from the Swamp, LSU on a Sunday or Saturday night is the greatest place to play college football. I don't care what nobody says. Y'all playing that Hold That Tiger, it felt like the entire stadium was shaking. You had the Tiger right there by our locker room.
Mm-hmm.
Coach Spurrier had 6 or 7 players go ahead of him, and then he stood around them so he didn't have to see or be around the Tiger. It's an electric atmosphere. One of the funnest places I've ever played in my life. One of the funnest places I think any college athlete could ever go to play. This past weekend, the University of Florida Gators defeated the LSU Tigers in the Swamp in an electrifying atmosphere as well. And so, I texted Ryan Clark. I texted Booger McFarland. I texted Brady James. I texted every LSU graduate I could find to let them know that the Gators had their number this year.
National champion in college football, a wrestling champion, and, of course, a champion in fatherhood. The book's called Wrestling with Fatherhood. He's Titus O'Neil. Thanks for a fun couple minutes, and thanks for a great book, man.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate your time.
It's 6:46 to Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Thank y'all for indulging me on that one. It was a fun interview. He was and the book is really good because you think about that, like the sheer presence of him. And John, I blew right past this. You mentioned this while we were playing the interview back. I recorded the interview earlier in the week. You mentioned this while we were playing it back. Did he say his mother had him at 12?
Yeah. That's
my word.
Insane to me. Like, my eyes lit up when I heard that.
Goodness.
Like, what?
Yeah. And I had, when I booked that interview, when I booked it first, okay, I had every intent of just being total trash talker because LSU was supposed to beat Florida. That was supposed to be an easy game. I will say this, though. Did he just reinvigorate the Tiger argument? I thought we were done with it.
Yeah, he did.
I thought we were done with it. But here's the thing. Or as a fan in the stands, I always loved having Mike the Tiger roll through. Once Mike the Tiger was gone, I was completely indifferent. It did not affect my game day experience whatsoever. In fact, more people got to see Mike in his habitat as they're making their way to the stadium than looking down at that little trailer cage that once he was in the stadium. Mike in his habitat was, photo ops, always the rows of kids are 3 deep over there by the habitat. because he's out and about and he's not being loaded into the trailer.
Yeah.
That being said, 2024 minus 1997, 27 years later, he still remembers that tiger coming out of the locker room.
Yeah.
27 years later, he still remembers that intimidation factor. So maybe as a fan, I might want to stand down and say it has that lasting effect.
Yeah, and we talked about that after your interview with him, and I was like, he remembered? Like, that's the fact that it made that much of an impression on him, for him to remember, like, oh, he's taken back immediately to that.
And not just remember it, but throw his head coach under the bus.
Yeah.
He's a Spurrier, had 6-7 guys go ahead of him. I mean, look, Steve Spurrier was no stranger to beating LSU. But anyway, it was a fun interview.
Good
We had
stuff.
a good time with that one. We are getting back into the news cycle, though. That was that little step away. Oh, I tell you this, though. We will be stepping away from the news cycle again coming up towards the end of the show. No Foodie Friday today. But are you a fan of the cheesy Hallmark? I shouldn't say cheesy. That's not nice. Are you a fan of the Hallmark movies that let you step out of reality for a little while? You know, she had a 7-figure job in Manhattan, and he was an assistant in a hardware store. Right.
Yeah.
Danika McKellar is known for those movies now. She was Winnie Cooper on the Wonder Years. She's coming up. She's got another one called The Cinderella Christmas Ball. She's coming up at 8:35 today, or 8:40 today. Hey, before you get you to your money now, going to remind you about the folks over at Vex European. Speaking of holidays inevitably mean we're going to be on the road a lot more. AAA tells us that every year. The folks at Gas Buddy tell us that every year. And this year especially, it's going to be increased holiday. Are up to it. If you drive a European vehicle, well, you know you bought it for that European engineering, the German engineering, or you know you bought it for that investment to make sure you're getting the most out of it. Swing by Vex European before hitting the road for the holidays. In fact, start at VexEuropean.com. Doesn't have to be major repairs. They handle your day-to-day maintenance as well, and you'll be matched with a master technician, an expert in your make of vehicle. So start it off at VexEuropean.com before you hit the road for the holidays. Ugh.
What's going on, Facebook? A little slow today, huh?
Very slow
One
today.
comment.
Well, it doesn't help that I've been gone all morning. Like,
Yeah.
I spent
Good morning to you too,
15
Broderick.
minutes across. Yeah, good morning, Broderick.
Yeah. It's all good.
What do you got?
What a turn of events, huh? To be on Mayor Westenbroom's side, huh?
Yeah.
What a move. That's unexpected.
I honestly thought he was just going to stand down and not endorse anybody.
Yeah, you would think, huh? But yeah, I'm surprised.
In fact, I'm going to talk about that at 7:15 as well. 7:15 is going to be both the Ted James endorsement and the session on tax reform.
And you say those cuts were put in
Today's folder.
today? Okay.
And Jordan's got the caps lock on over there in 104.5, so when you read the titles, I'm not shouting.
It's yelling.
Landry on economic development!
It's like, okay, man, all right. Just calm down, all right, kid. Jason, last resort. It's like, all right, okay. Stop yelling.
Boopity beep, boop beep.
Push.
Thank you. Keep the music going while I'm reading. Coach Kim Mulkey and the 7th-ranked LSU Tigers are back at it on Monday, facing Washington and the Bahamas. Going to be a 12:30 tip-off there. Here are the Tigers all season long on your home for LSU women's basketball. They'll be right here on Talk 107.3 FM. A lot of news out of the state capitol. Well, I shouldn't say news. A lot of hurry up and wait coming out of the state capitol right now as they're in the waning days of the special session on tax reform. But there was some other news coming out from the governor yesterday that I wanted to touch on. You heard about it from our friends, our news partners over at Louisiana Radio Network. Yes, they're friends. But I've now lost this in my stack of prep for today. It's about the Mid-Barataria Sediment Diversion Project. There we go. Governor Landry's not a big fan of it, and he was speaking in front of the Senate Transportation, Highways, and Public Works Committee. Landry said the project would cost the state a lot of money.
Everything above $2.9 billion is on our dime. And this is one project in one area that will start, in my belief, to begin to soak up the resources that we need across the whole coast.
I feel like we're just replaying an argument that's already been had. Haven't we been down this path before CPRA put out their master plan? Haven't we already have we moved, as in Robert's Rules of Order, haven't we moved a previous question on this one? And I don't know that his numbers are right here as well, because the master plan is calling for $1 billion a year for 50 years. 2.9, I guess it will be stretched out over a number of years to make the math work, but he says it would also destroy coastal Louisiana's culture.
It destroys the shrimping industry, which is already struggling. It destroys the oyster beds. And we say, the government says, no worries, We are going to pay you not to shrimp. We are going to pay you not to oyster fish.
It's also going to save the coast. It's a big project to save the coastline. So unless you want those oyster beds to continue moving further inland, because inland will now be coastline, this is why I feel like we've already moved the previous question on this. And it also all depends on who you're listening to. If you're listening to, like, let's say, okay, Lieutenant Governor Billy Nungesser, not a fan of this project either. But his job is culture, recreation, and tourism. And if your tourism is going to be, you know, the numbers might be off for a season because the oyster beds are going to naturally relocate, but there's going to be a window of time where you have to, you know, kind of foot the bill there. That's what he's talking about with the supplements. But, and the shrimping industry is not going to go away either. It just, things are going to have to move further out because they've been creeping in all these years. And the project hopes to, within the Mid-Barrett area sediment diversion project, is hoping to curb that, curtail that a little bit. By the way, Amanda Moore, Senior Director of the Gulf Program for the National Wildlife Federation, disagrees with Landry's assertion, says that the assertion that it would destroy the culture.
This project is actually essential to sustaining the culture of coastal Louisiana and sustaining the ecosystem and those productive estuaries and wetlands that really are at the heart of coastal Louisiana.
If you're listening to the shrimpers or you're listening to the oyster fishermen, they're going to have a tough year or two. But it's not a long-term thing, whereas this project is a long-term fix. By the way, Moore says without the project, communities along the coastline, they're going to be even more vulnerable.
The Barataria Basin itself is going to become saltier. It's going to continue to lose wetlands that act as nurseries for many of the fish and shellfish species. You're going to see wetlands disappear that help protect communities from storm surge.
We'll pick up on this in a lot more detail after the session's over with. I just didn't want too long to go without at least touching on it right now. Hour 2's next. All right, big question of the day for Facebook here. Do you believe the JFK conspiracy theories? And if so, which one or ones do you believe? Love them both. Love them both. The Secret Service rifle one is interesting. But why would he still, if there's a trailing car, he still recoiled back and to the left? Back and to the left. Back and to the left. .705 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. Hour 2 coming your way right now. Brian here with you. John LaBeouf producing. We got the folks from the Pennington Biomedical Research Center coming up later on this hour. We're going to talk about the Metamore Institute and all the great things they're doing over there, which, you know, considering the holidays, I mean, Thanksgiving is next week, and then the holidays are just around the corner. This is about the time that, about the time that folks pack on a couple of extra pounds, if we're being honest, and then start prepping for your New Year's resolution. Metamore Institute does fantastic work with both obesity and diabetes and the connection between the two. So looking forward to that conversation. In our next segment, we're diving back into the legislative session. Before we get to any of that, though, hey, we start off the hour with top stories and trending. Let's roll.
Number 5.
We don't normally have sports stories here, but this is a big one. LSU football commit Bryce Underwood has flipped his commitment from LSU to his home state school of Michigan. He did this yesterday evening, just 2 weeks before National Signing Day. Underwood is rated as the top player in the 2025 recruiting class, which, of course, means he's the top quarterback overall as well. And he was he is the prize. He is the prize of this LSU recruiting class.
Number 4.
State legislature has settled on the final details of Governor Jeff Landry's tax package, but they shut it down last night before bringing it to a vote. That's because staff members were still drafting the final language of a number of bills. First the Senate and then the House. They're expected to approve the package today. That would end the special session if they do, which can go on till Monday at 6 p.m. The Senate will reconvene at 10 o'clock this morning. We're talking about that more in our next segment.
Number 3.
3 people have been displaced from a home on Stonegate Court after it caught fire last night. Firefighters arrived at the house off Old Hammond Highway just after 11 p.m., found the detached carport and an outside vehicle on fire. 2 adults and a child were already safely outside. Crews were able to put out the fire before it spread to neighboring houses. Nobody was hurt in this one like the night before where someone was killed in a house fire. You don't want to assume the timing of it, but this is 2 nights in a row where it's been cold and 2 nights in a row or 2 mornings in a row where we've woken up to headlines about house fires.
Number 2.
A Baton Rouge police officer was placed on administrative leave after shooting a person during a domestic disturbance early Thursday morning. Officers were they were dispatched to a North Sherwood Forest Drive home around 1:14 a.m. after receiving reports that one roommate attacked another with a knife. Police said an officer confronted the knife-wielding man and asked him unsuccessfully to drop it, the knife that is. The officer then shot the violent roommate in the shoulder as they walked toward the officer with said knife. State police are going to take over the investigation because it is an officer-involved shooting.
Number 1.
Ted James is backing Sharon Weston Broome. The announcement was made yesterday. He'll be endorsing the incumbent Baton Rouge mayor after a nasty general election where James said daily, this city needs to move in a different direction away from Sharon Weston Broome. And conversely, you had that ad that came out where Broome's campaign recorded James secretly. Anyway, early voting begins today for the runoff election between Sid Edwards and Sharon Weston Broome. I'm a little bit surprised. You know what? I'm going to elaborate on this in our next segment too. What's trending, John?
Well, former Florida Congressman Matt Gaetz has withdrawn his name from the next Attorney General. The president-elect didn't even have to leave the state of Florida for his next nominee, Pam Bondi.
Within the same day, just hours later.
Yeah.
Hours later. I want someone to dive in and find out everything that went down, like legitimately. I don't want someone from the right or someone from the left. I want someone to give me actual documentation of what went down with this Gaetz thing, because it's playing so weirdly on so many levels. For example, he didn't have to resign his post in Congress in order to do this, and yet he did. Conversely, this Congress is almost over, and he's already been elected to the next Congress. So while he resigned from Congress, he might not be done with Congress. It'll just be the next one. Also, was resigning from Congress kind of a stipulation of getting the nomination or getting the nod in the first place, because if you followed the Congress for the last couple of years, he's been quite the obstructionist.
Right.
So not necessarily voting for anything along the way, but just voting no for the sake of voting no. So was this all a move to get him out of the way? And was he vetted at all before this report that's been classified and is not being revealed, which everyone's now dying to know what's in that just because they won't share it with us? This is why I don't like talking national politics.
Right.
You can't know for sure anything that's going on, but we can all have our assumptions. We can all be experts on something that we know nothing about.
Isn't that the truth, though, really? I mean, the Illinois, look at this. In other news here, the Illinois Supreme Court overturned actor Jussie Smollett's conviction on charges that he staged a racist and homophobic attack against himself in downtown Chicago in 2019 and lied to police. You remember that part in Liar Liar?
Yeah.
Where he's like beating himself up in the bathroom?
Yeah.
He's like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah.
"I'm kicking my..." Yeah.
Yep, I remember that.
That's what I think of.
Underrated movie, by the way.
Yeah, it is.
The roast scene in the conference room.
Yeah.
Underrated movie.
Anyway, not to take away from this, but honestly, that's where my head was in the 6 o'clock hour was,
Yeah.
I'm kicking my...
Yeah.
Because, I mean, and to be overturned, I mean...
But just remember how
you mentioned
quickly,
Yeah.
how quickly everyone assumed he was a victim.
Yes.
And it for legitimate reasons, and we all were like, God, that's horrible.
Yeah.
That is so terrible that the level of hate and rage is at this fever pitch in America. And we all believe that MAGA hat wearing Trump supporters in the middle of the night in Chicago in freezing cold temperatures beat him up.
Yeah.
And all it did was fueled the anger and rage.
Yeah. Stirred the pot for real. And, for it just to be overturned now. I mean, yeah. Hey, check this out. MSNBC's Rachel Maddow is taking a $5 million pay cut amid growing uncertainty about the channel's future.
I was shocked to learn that Rachel Maddow makes $5 million, much less that she can take a $5 million pay cut. $30 million!
$30
million for that?
Yeah.
And that's not a political take either. That's just
no.
Just look at the numbers. Yeah. The numbers don't bear it out.
Yeah.
$30 million.
Yeah.
I guess it's down to 25 now.
But apparently there's a source that says one executive called her ratings Viagra. So I guess the ratings are rising when she's, I don't know. I just personally think she's way too high on a pedestal. But
yeah.
That's just me.
712 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Quick break. We'll continue next. Who's on the phone?
I don't know who that is.
Oh, check and see.
Yeah, I know. Hotline. I'm like, it kept. Studio. Hello? Nothing. It was ringing off. I mean, it just kept going. That's why I finally gave in.
Well, yeah. So I had put a couple requests out there for this segment.
Yeah.
Nobody responded, though.
Oh. Yeah, I couldn't. There was no one on the line. Yeah, I looked at the sheet and I was like, oh, okay. Didn't see a guest, so. But for them to be calling a hotline, I was really losing my train of thought, to be honest with you, because I'm like, who's calling? I don't want to take away from the segment, but at the same time.
You can actually stay on air. Let me grab the hotline real quick.
Yeah. Okay.
And
especially from the hotline. Now, if it was any other line, then I wouldn't care too much. But the hotline itself.
I think that the 7:35 guest was getting in early.
Oh, okay. So are we still going to go the route with the cuts, or? Okay.
Yeah, see who it is. He's 7:35. Phil. Wait. I had him down at 7:35. Does he want to go right now? What? Put him on hold real quick. Dr. Shower. Hey, yeah, we can roll right now. I'm more than happy to do that. Can you give me a topic or two to get us started, or are we just talking about Metamore overall? Perfect. Hang tight, coming right to you. My apologies for the elongated bumper right there. Live radio. Oftentimes, things can change up a little bit. All right, we're going to shift on the fly here real quick because we were slated to have the folks from the Pennington Biomedical Research Center on at 7:35 this morning, but Dr. Philip Shower got himself in the queue early, and I would rather roll with him right now and not leave him waiting. So we'll talk about the legislative session in our next segment. Right now, let's welcome from Pennington, Dr. Philip Shower. Dr. Shower, good morning. How are you, sir?
I'm great, Brian. Thanks for having me on the call this morning.
No, glad to have you on here. I love having a partnership with Pennington. I say it repeatedly, is that we have this world-renowned, globally leading gem right here in our own backyard, and barely anybody knows what goes on there. You're just sitting there on the corner of Perkins and Kenilworth, and the rest of the world pays attention, and we drive right on by.
That's right, Brian, and I'm still a relatively newcomer to Pennington. I got here about 5 years ago from the Cleveland Clinic,
Yep.
And I knew about Pennington, and I knew of its world-class stature, and that's why I'm here, to be surrounded by all these amazing scientists here at Pennington.
Now, you were brought in from the Cleveland Clinic when the Metamore Institute was founded, correct?
That's right, and we're called Metamore. So let me spell that, METAMOR, Metamore. Now, when you think about Metamore, think about two things. Think about metabolic and think about metamorphosis, okay?
Yep.
Because what we do is we are a comprehensive treatment center for metabolic disease. In other words, obesity. Obesity is a metabolic disorder and requires metabolic treatment. And ultimately, our treatment dramatically changes people's lives. In other words, a metamorphosis to good health. So that's what we're about at Metamore.
See, I figured out the metamorphosis part, not the metabolic part.
Yeah.
I did not realize that was a twofer right there. So when you talk about a metabolic treatment for a metabolic disease, what does that mean exactly? Okay, if you're talking about just like a fat person in general, do they necessarily have something wrong with them internally, or is it just bad habits?
Well, it's usually an internal problem. People don't really understand that obesity is really a biologic disorder. There's a big genetic component to it, and it's really a disorder of body weight regulation. It's how our gut signals to our brain that we're hungry. And people that have a problem with obesity are hungry when they shouldn't be. And these are driven by chemicals, just like other drives, the drive to be thirsty, the drive to have hunger, the drive to have other desires. These are in a large part managed by chemicals, and these are altered in people who have obesity.
We're talking with Dr. Philip Schauer from the Metamore Institute. The chemical part of this is one part, but I mean, we've got a lot of bad habits as well, Doc.
That's true, and it's one of these, chicken or the egg, questions.
Either way, you're going to fry it. So
that's right. Yeah. So, but of course they're both, and we always talk about, lifestyle intervention as the most important, initial strategy. That is good habits, good food choices, exercising, all of that, and that is very good and effective for a lot of people. But for some people, those strategies have been proven not to be adequate. And when those are not adequate, then you have to jump to other therapies, principally either medications, and there's now a number of many or much more effective medications, for example, the GLP-1s, Ozempic and Wegovy and Mounjaro. And then even those are not effective in some people, and then you have surgical interventions.
I would assume each case is different and looked at differently as well. Is there? Let's start on the medication front here, because I feel like the Mounjaro and the Ozempic and those medications they feel relatively new to the marketplace, and they're overwhelmingly popular. Are we overprescribing them right now?
Well, look, Brian, we're just 2, 3, 4 years into this revolution, and look, there are a lot of people that are struggling with their weight. 40% of the U.S. population has obesity, and a significant percentage of those people have major illness directly caused by their obesity. And again, as I mentioned earlier, just diet and exercise doesn't work for everybody. So these can be very potent and effective. We've got to sort out, better access to these medications, better pricing, better utilization. And you're right, they should not necessarily be used for someone who needs, to fit into a bathing suit, or a wedding dress. These are primarily used for people that have health issues, diabetes, high blood pressure, cholesterol, heart disease, severe illnesses related to obesity.
And we're going to get into all the illnesses that in just a little bit, because they are mountainous, to say the least. We're talking with Dr. Philip Schauer from the Metamore Institute over there at the Pennington Biomedical Research Center. Doc, when we're looking at treating obesity, is it just a checklist? We're going to start with this, then move to this, then move to this, or can we skip to the bottom of the page or the middle of the page on some folks?
Yeah, well, I think it first begins with what we have here at Metamore, and that is a multidisciplinary effort. So, there is specialists who have expertise in psychological aspects, nutrition aspects, medications, and surgery. And so combining them and having them available to use in a tailor-made way for an individual and an individual's needs is most important. And it depends. When the patient shows up at our doorstep who's 150 pounds overweight, then, of course, diet and exercise is important, but it's not going to get them to where they need to be. And even medications may not be enough. So that person may be an obvious candidate for surgery. On the other hand, someone that may need to lose 25 or 30 pounds, perhaps, counseling on the lifestyle, so to speak, interventions, and maybe medications may be the way to go. So you have to tailor it to the degree of obesity the individual has.
Can we go back up to the top of the page real quick with the biologic disorder?
Sure.
Is that something we're born with, or something that is embedded in us because we've created it along the way? I mean, for example, do we come out of are we born wanting to eat too much, not being able to turn off that switch, or is that something that years and years of all-you-can-eat buffets have built in us?
Let's put it this way. We're born with a predisposition to being obese.
Okay.
Now, it's this phenomenon of obesity is relatively new. The past, 50 to 75 years prior to that was pretty rare. When there was not an abundance of high-calorie food, very cheap high-calorie food readily available. But now that cheap high-calorie food is available everywhere. Yeah. So there are some people that are very prone to having, tremendous desire for these types of foods, and some people who are not. Does that make sense?
No, it totally does, because I've got friends who just do not like sweets, and I don't understand them, and I think they're crazy people.
Exactly. They're naturally thin. So being naturally thin is also genetically inherited, and those people are blessed.
Yeah, so you want some chocolate? No, thanks. I'm like, what are you talking about?
Exactly.
We got Dr. Philip Shower with us from the Metamore Institute, doing fantastic work over there at the Pennington Biomedical Research Center. So when it comes to diet and exercise, the basic thing about diet and exercise is teaching yourself to change your own lifestyle. When you talk about the medications, and we'll get to the surgery in a second, when you talk about the medications, does it change lifestyle as well?
What the medications do is alter the appetite. You talk to people who are on these medications, they're not as hungry, their interest in eating is dramatically less. Okay. And so these hormones, these GLP-1 is a hormone, is made in the gut, goes straight to the brain and accentuates a part of the brain that controls appetite and satiety. Satiety is the opposite of appetite. Satiety is when you feel full. And so these agents accentuate the sense of being full, and people are less hungry. And so they desire less food, and they reduce their calorie intake, and thereby they reduce their weight.
This might be trivial, but do you enjoy the food any less while you're on them?
Well, there's a lot of discussion about that, and a lot is coming out in the literature that, yes, people enjoy the food less. Exactly. They're not as captivated. They're not as, when they see an apple pie or a chocolate cake, before they were on the medications, they could not eat it. But after on the medications, so what? I don't need it.
But yeah, I want to learn so much more on that end, because I mean we a lot of us are overweight because we have the best food on the planet here.
That's right.
So I don't want to picture a world where I bite into something and the whole, oh, it's so good. If that goes away with it, I mean, that would obviously train yourself to not want it as much, but at the same time though, you lose the joy of food along with it. We got Dr. Philip Shower with us, talking about the Metamore Institute. Doc, kind of want to ask you about the follow-up. Once you're on one of these GLP-1 medications, are you on them forever?
Well, the studies so far suggest that if you go off the medications, just like if you stop taking your blood pressure medications or your diabetes medications, then the illness comes back until the weight comes back. That's what we're generally seeing. So now it may be that, once you get to your target weight, you can reduce the dosage or the frequency. In other words, a maintenance dose that's much less than when you start, but you're probably going to need to be on it lifelong.
All right, well, let's pivot over to, I'm keeping one eye on the clock, and I want to make sure we get to some of the illnesses on the back end. Let's pivot over to the surgery, because this sounds like, while we could talk about changing your mindset overall, surgery's not going to change your mindset. Surgery's a quick fix to get you where you need to be, and then the work starts from there.
Well, false.
Oh.
Statement. That's false, yeah.
Okay.
Interestingly, Brian, surgery works in a similar way that the drugs do. Okay? With surgery, by altering the stomach and the intestines, and what we do is we make the stomach smaller. With the sleeve gastrectomy, we're taking your stomach from the size of a football to the size of a banana. With the gastric bypass, we're making your stomach the size of an egg. But we're also intervening in some of these hormones that are made in the gut that go to your brain that tell you you're hungry or you're not hungry. What? And these are some of the same hormones, the GLP-1 we talked about with the drugs, that are altered. But with surgery, they're altered in an even bigger way. So people after surgery, they don't eat as much because they're not as hungry. Not because they cannot eat as much, it's because they don't want to eat as much.
That is fascinating. I was always under the impression that because, you put that sleeve on, the stomach's smaller so your brain tells you you're full, and was thinking that, like, chemically, like in your mind, you're still thinking you still have that craving, you still have that want.
No.
That is fascinating stuff.
Yes. Yes.
Unreal.
Yes.
We got about 2 minutes left with Dr. Philip Schauer from the Metamore Institute over there at Pennington. Let's talk a little bit about the illnesses and where we have them front and center here in Louisiana, to be sure.
Oh, yeah. So, the higher one gets in terms of their body weight, in general, the more likely they're going to have major illnesses. Diabetes is quite common. And, high blood pressure, elevated cholesterol, and those are all major risk factors for heart disease. So people who have obesity are much more likely to have a heart attack or a stroke and die from that early in their lifespan. Their lifespan is shortened by about 7 to 10 years in general. They also have problems with the arthritis in their knee and their back because of the excess weight on those joints. They have sleep apnea. They have a higher risk of cancer. People don't realize that, but there's about 12, 14 cancers that are clearly associated with obesity, such as uterine cancer, ovarian cancer, breast cancer, colon cancer, esophageal cancer, pancreatic cancer, and the list goes on and on. So obesity is not just, a person is a large person. Obesity is an illness, and it leads to many other very serious illnesses.
A couple of takeaways before we get you out of here, and one of those is that we're in mid to late November right now, which means the holidays are coming up, and everybody packs on a couple extra pounds there. But also everybody starts off the new year with a resolution to lose weight, and they'll go after it with diet and exercise, and inevitably by February, if you're lucky, February, maybe midway through January, you run into a brick wall and you give up, and you get dejected thinking it's you that failed here. But the way you're spelling this out for me here is it's not that simple, and it's probably not a personal failure if the diet doesn't work.
Yeah, that's a great take-home message, Brian. And, of course, lifestyle, diet and exercise we all should be doing it, okay? Mm-hmm. But sometimes for some people it's not enough. And if you've tried all that, then get help. Talk to your doctor and, explore some of these other options, medications and in some case surgery, especially at a center who has the scientific expertise to help you out.
One more before I get you out of here, and I know we're running long on the air. I'm not even apologetic about it. I know we're running long on the air, but the flip side of this, when it comes to the medications and the surgery and whatnot, Doc, food is fuel. When we take, and not all calories are created equal, but when we take in food, that is the fuel for our bodies. When you're on these medications, does it affect energy levels and just personal drive and the want to do things?
Well, that's being evaluated right now.
Okay.
And it's interesting, these hormones have other effects, on your brain that we're discovering. We mentioned earlier that people are less excited, the hedonic, we call it hedonic response to food. They get less of a high. They also get maybe less of a high to other things like alcohol, which is maybe it's a good thing.
Wow.
People are beginning to use this as a treatment for people who have alcoholism. And there may be other illnesses, like drug addiction type illnesses that these agents may be used for, and maybe other mental illnesses as well.
It's fascinating stuff, and we continue to learn more every day. He is Dr. Philip Schauer from the Metamore Institute. Hey, look, I don't want to have you on during Mardi Gras, but I definitely want to have you back on during Lent.
Anytime, Brian. I got a lot more to share with the audience, too.
Yeah, we're only scratching the surface right now, but that's going to do it for this particular segment. We'll talk to you soon, Dr. Schauer. Thank you so much.
Okay, Brian. Thank you. Have a great day.
You do the same. Here comes news. You know what? I feel better about today's show. I feel better about today's show because of that. That was awesome. Not really. I'm glad that happened because that's a longer segment than the 35 segment, and I don't have to rant for as long now. Hey, Scott! No, just once and stayed. I do the community concern show. You know how many times I get texts in the 5 o'clock hour on a Sunday morning? Oh my God. Hey, I was just listening to that segment. Bro, I have one day to sleep until the sun comes up. That's it. The one time I can sleep until the sun is warm. Yeah. Hiller Moore, who's on the show once a month, I replay his interview on that show, texted me after his interview with a follow-up. I'm like, if you weren't there, I wasn't there.
I'm listening to myself on your show. Man, I want to add this to the conversation. I'm on your show right now. I want to add to the conversation. Yeah.
And we didn't even get into Obesity Week. Obesity Week was the first week of November. And if anybody is a fan of the NBA on TNT, and if you're a fan of the NBA on TNT and Charles Barkley, Obesity Week was held in San Antonio. Well, they got the big girls in San Antonio. Terrible. They all eating churros.
Little big back cells.
Balin. Time to get a look at your weekend forecast. Here's WBRZ meteorologist Balin Rogers. .739 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. We ran long there with Dr. Shower, and we could have kept going. I could have put that man on hold, come back after the news. It picked up right where we left off. That was fascinating stuff. Great stuff going on there over there at Pennington Biomedical Research and the Metamore Institute within it. Thank you. Thanks to Dr. Shower so much for the time this morning. We need to get into the legislative session as it's getting down to its waning hours. But I did want to spend just a quick minute talking about Ted James and the endorsement of Sharon Weston Broome. I've got so many texts about this over the last couple of days in that heading up to the general election, there was a lot of talk and a lot of endorsements from folks that Ted James was going to be the pragmatic choice here. The number of times as a Baton Rougean, if you've gone, remember Charlie Brown would go kick the football and Lucy would pull it away every time? Well, how many mayoral elections as a Republican have you gone to kick the football? You've been reassured that the football would be there, and then when you go to kick the football, it gets pulled away. How many times as a Republican in Baton Rouge have you gone to vote for mayor president knowing you've got what feels like a strong candidate in the runoff, only to have that football pulled away and the Republican loses and the Democrat wins? So after having this happen, let's call it 5 times in a row now. Maybe more. No, I think we're at 5. After that, a lot of folks started saying, let's find a better solution, a pragmatic solution. And this is not a commentary on Sid Edwards or Sharon Weston Broome. This is talking about that third option here. When you're a Republican who's tired of putting their hand on the stove and getting burned. That was Ted James. He was the pragmatic solution. Yes, he's a Democrat on paper, but he's also very business-minded. Well, Ted got a lot of pushback on that front, saying, no. He endorsed Kamala Harris. Go look at his lobby score. Although a lot of people straight up lied about his lobby score. It wasn't good, but it wasn't as bad as people said it was. Ted became that pragmatic solution, and he garnered a lot of endorsements on the right. And instead of waiting until the runoff to have the football pulled away, for those folks, they found the third option, proved this time around to not be nearly as effective as the previous option. So let's fast forward to the endorsement here. If you're wondering why, and this is just my gut, okay, because as we discussed in the last segment, my gut's pretty big. This is just my gut here, because I haven't talked to Ted since Election Day. But if you're wondering why, after such a contentious election, why after months and months and months, why go from February through November of saying this city needs a different direction, we've got to get away from Mayor President Sharon Weston Broome. If you're wondering why, after being recorded on the sly, Ted James would come back out and say, now I endorse Sharon Weston Broome, I just want to throw this out as a possibility. You ever heard that phrase, if you shoot at the king, don't miss? Well, in this case, it would be the queen, and that would be Sharon Weston Broome. And he missed. He missed badly. Ted's got a lot of picking up to do if he wants to pick up he's got a lot of cleaning up to do if he wants to pick up his political career. And if you are on the right and you're looking at him as a Democrat, he hasn't become further left, but he's got to clean up that house that has the D behind it first. He's got to clean up the house that he's a member of their party first. I would imagine that would start with mending fences within your own party, mending fences with Sharon Weston Broome, before expanding back out beyond party. Everything he had to say on this show over the course of those 10 months was centrist at worst. I can't wait to have him back on again. I'd like to have him back on before the runoff election just to talk about this, just to talk about the process that goes into it. Just knowing him personally, he's a good man. He's a good man. He's been a friend of this show since he was in the state legislature. I mean, he's a friend of the show that was on before this one as well. So, my guess is, when the house comes tumbling down, when everything starts to fall, you start rebuilding within your own party first, and then look to rebuild outside of that later on. Beyond that, I'm not going to have any speculation until I talk to him. We're at what are we at here? 7. Okay, we got enough time. Let's get back into the state legislature real quick, as they've got a full docket on the Senate side today. There are a number of bills that the Louisiana State Senate is going to tackle today. On the rundown, House Bill 1 by Julie Emerson, that's personal income tax. House Bill 2 by Julie Emerson, that's corporate income tax. House Bill 3 by Julie Emerson, that is the corporate franchise tax. House Bill 4 by Representative McFarland, that makes supplemental appropriations for this current fiscal year that runs over into next year. House Bill 5 by Representative Bacala, requires school systems to provide a salary increase for teachers, a permanent raise for teachers. There's a number of other bills in there as well. And not among them is HB 9, which would have expanded the number of sales and number of items under sales and different services out there that would have been taxed. But there's still a core. There's still a core to what the governor was trying to achieve. And it's still very, very possible that we see significant change from this legislative session without everything moving forward. One of the big talking points going into the legislative session was that, hey, and the governor said, oh, I should have grabbed that soundbite. The governor said it on this show earlier this week. Brian, you got to stop looking at this as individual bills and look at it as a whole package. Well, you can't do that because that's not how the legislature works. I know that's what he wanted, to get a thumbs up across the board to run the table in billiards parlance. But he wasn't going to get that. Nobody bats 1,000. We were talking with Jason DeQueer from Advantis Consulting yesterday, and he talked about how even if everything doesn't move forward, and this is after HB 9 stalled out, even after everything doesn't move forward, there were still a number of real possibilities on the table here.
Oh, no, look,
No. Jason DeQueer from Advantis Consulting.
And we talked at the beginning that, there may be a place where you can sever this, still get a couple of things done, not as many as you would have hoped for, and still move up some, and maybe kind of bootstrap that with the fiscal session. Or the absolute kind of default plan is, do we just focus on the budget right now? Do we just worry about, hey, how much money do we need going forward? And we kick a lot of the tax reform measures to the next fiscal session.
Now, I don't know if he was foreshadowing where the Senate might be headed, but I don't think they're triaged that far down yet. There's still a lot that's on the table for today, and they won't convene until 10 o'clock this morning. So we'll see where it goes as the day wears on. But as long as HB 1 and HB 2 are still in the mix, those are your main HB 1, HB 2, and HB 3 are still in the mix. Those were your main goals. Forget about the whole package. Those were your main goals. Reduce personal income tax, reduce corporate income tax, get rid of the franchise tax. And let's not forget, this all got started by wanting to further economic development. I got an incredibly long soundbite from the governor here that we're not going to have time to play the whole thing. But I asked him earlier in the week about the economic development into this. It runs over 2 minutes total. So there's a point where I know we could jump in because he gets to his point. So here's what the governor had to say about utilizing this session for economic development.
Oh, no, look, well, here's the thing. You got to be able to have something to sell. And we've got some great things out there. And what we've heard from businesses is that, look, if you get rid of the corporate franchise tax, if you lower the corporate income tax, if you lower the personal income tax, at the end of the day, we're coming.
Oh, wow, he got to the point quickly. I'm sorry, when I was editing that earlier, I let it keep playing. He makes further points, but I think that gets to the point right there. In fact, John, do it one more time. Start it over from the front, and we'll run it right there again.
Oh, no, look, well, here's the thing. You got to be able to have something to sell. And we've got some great things out there. And what we've heard from businesses is that, look, if you get rid of the corporate franchise tax, if you lower the corporate income tax, if you lower the personal income tax, at the end of the day, we're coming.
Corporate income tax, personal income tax, corporate franchise tax. Those three items are still in the ball game here. Those three items are on the Senate's docket today. Now, what version of them comes out at the back end and how they manage to balance the budget on the back end, I'll worry about all that later. But if this is meant for economic development, if this is meant to spark economic development, they're still in the ball game. And there's still a game to be played. So, while it's not everything, and there's a lot of headlines about or a lot of talk about the paring down and what can we salvage and all that, you could salvage a whole lot based off of just those three bills. And let's get that teacher pay raise as well. We're coming up on 750 at Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, man, so much more news to cover this morning. Next hour, got to remind you, next hour, Metro Councilman Aaron Moak going to be in the house. We're going to talk about the city budget and actress Danika McKellar. But right now, here's your Money Now on Talk 107.3. Oh. All right, I'm finally back in Facebook. Awesome stuff, Troy. Awesome stuff. I'm going to watch all of these. In fact, I just screen grabbed your comment, so I've got my list to go. Debbie says, why are the files still sealed? It's supposed to be released after 50 years, and today's the 61st anniversary. Nope. Shit, my next guest is here. Aaron's here. Can you run down and let him in? Yeah. Yep. Which is why I can't go. .756 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. We are going to we're going to dive into the city budget in our next hour. 8:15 Metro Councilman Aaron Moak will be in the house. In fact, 30 seconds from right now, he'll physically be in the house as John's going downstairs to let him in the building right now. Mayor President Sharon Weston Broome proposed her budget for next year, $1.1 billion and change. We'll break it down with Aaron Moak in our next hour. Also next hour, actress Danika McKellar is going to join us. Another recorded interview as she has got so a lot of folks remember Danika as the female interest Winnie Cooper in the old show The Wonder Years. She's now doing all the Hallmark style movies, and she's got another one that comes out right after Thanksgiving. So we'll talk with her about that. Before we get anything else here, I got to remind you about the folks over at Parish Construction and Roofing. ParishBuilt.com is the website. ParishBuilt.com if you want to find them online. 364-1007 is the phone number. Parish likes saying do business with someone you know. And I kind of took that to heart. So I decided to do business with someone I know because my insurance company told me that they couldn't offer me any discounts when re-upping my policy because my roof was so old. So I hopped on parishbuilt.com, filled out the little form on the homepage, had them come out, inspect my roof, and sure enough, I had all kinds of damage. Not just age, not just natural wear and tear, but I had all kinds of storm damage. So they set forth to getting me a new roof. And when they say do business with someone you know, every step through the process, it was as simple as just calling or texting. I had Zach helping me out. Every step through the process, it's as simple as calling or texting Zach. The biggest part of this was working with the insurance adjuster. My insurance company was a dream throughout this, but a lot of that was because it was so easily explainable to me. So Zach did a phenomenal job. Parishbuilt.com is the website. When they say do business with someone you know, they mean it, and it makes all the difference in the world. You are talking to one happy customer right now of Parish Construction and Roofing. We got a couple seconds before we hit news at the top of the hour, if I'm not mistaken. Do we? Oh, we got exactly 1 minute. Not enough time to dive into the next story that I wanted to dive into. Man. I tell you what, as we get towards the top of the hour, I don't want to dive back into the legislative session here, but the AP just put out a story this morning. No, we don't have time. We don't have enough time to get back into it. Okay. My apologies. I'm working through a couple different things in real time here. My apologies, y'all. The legislative session, I don't know if we're going to be able to talk about it again this morning because there's only 1 hour left of the show, and I do want to dedicate some time to the city parish budget. Metro Councilman Aaron Moak going to help us navigate that. Tell you what, let's just go ahead and break. We get the top of the hour coming your way. We'll dive into this day in history. It is the 61st anniversary of JFK's assassination. No doubt that's going to rule the conversation in our next segment. Wait, what happened? Damn. kill the mic for a second? .806 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP Mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. Hour 3 coming your way right now. Busy hour planned this hour. We're going to dive into the EBR budget here in just a couple minutes, and also step away from all the headlines as the holidays are just around the corner. We were able to the cheesy Hallmark movies, all the Hallmark Christmas movies. Danika McKellar is in at least one a year. I got the chance to interview her about that. She's actually not on Hallmark anymore. She's on a different network now, but same principle behind the movies. We'll talk with her before the show's over. Before we get any further, though, it's time for This Day in History. All right, John.
All right.
You know where I want to go, but I'm sure other things happen too.
We're going to get there.
Okay.
Hey, Santa Claus is coming to town.
No.
It was the first time that song was actually heard at this day in 1934.
No.
On Eddie Cantor's show.
Okay.
Hey, 1957, music news here. Simon and Garfunkel appear on American Bandstand as Tom and Jerry.
Okay.
I know. Just, days in history, man.
Yeah, I know.
Which one? I wonder which one was Jerry. Anyway, 1963. I don't know. A little something happened here. You want to take it away, or you want me to do
this day in 1963?
Yeah.
Man, what could have possibly happened 61 years ago today? Oh, the plot for a great Oliver Stone movie came out on this day in 1963 when former President John F. Kennedy was shot in the head by everybody.
Ooh. Wow. Yeah. Today was that day.
Yeah.
It was Lee Harvey Oswald, right?
Allegedly.
New
Orleanian Lee Harvey Oswald.
Yeah.
As it were. Had nothing to do with New Orleanian Carlos Marcello. No. Or New Orleanian David Ferry. No. Or, we give no credit at all to New Orleanian Jim Garrison. This is one of my favorite things about being from Louisiana, by the way.
Yeah.
Is how no matter what happens in the world, there's a connection back to Louisiana.
Yeah.
Good or bad.
Yeah.
Whether you're talking about the assassination of John F. Kennedy or the guy who's driving the Mars rover, like Either way,
It always comes back.
back home to Louisiana.
Comes back.
I love that about our state.
Absolutely.
I love that, like everybody else looked at the Warren Commission report and just took it at face value. It took a Louisianan to say, no, I got questions.
Hey,
That's
how we are.
Yes.
Right?
We are a different people.
Yeah. Oh, man. Of course, that same year, 1963, Lyndon B. Johnson was sworn in as the 36th president following that assassination.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Something a little bit more lighthearted here. 1984, Fred Rogers.
Literally everything is more lighthearted. Something a little more lighthearted.
Something a little bit more, you know. We moved to the world of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood.
Yeah.
He presented a sweater to the Smithsonian Institution in 1984.
Very proud of you.
Yeah, so proud.
By the way, this day in 1966, Steve Spurrier won the Heisman.
Okay, yeah.
So I don't know that I've ever mentioned Steve Spurrier's name on this show, and that's twice today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There we go.
Between Titus back in the first hour and now.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, 1980.
Oh, wait, by the way, if you missed that, if you weren't listening in the 6 o'clock hour, wrestler Titus O'Neil wrote a book about fatherhood, had him on about that. But on the back end of the interview, Titus O'Neil played football at Florida, and he was on that 97 team that LSU beat when they beat the number 1 for the first time ever, and fans, including myself, rushed the field. Dude threw his coach under the bus. If you missed it, you might want to check it out. It's on demand at Talk 107. Or it'll be on demand at Talk1073.com after the show's over today.
Absolutely.
But yeah. All right, Coach Spurrier had 6-7 guys walk between him and the Tiger. All right.
Like I called his coach out on that.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Hey, 1986 here. 20-year-old Mike Tyson becomes the youngest heavyweight champion in boxing history. Yeah.
Yep.
That happened today.
You don't want to finish the rest of that?
Yeah. He stops title holder Trevor Berbick in round 2 at the Las Vegas Hilton.
That is correct.
WBC
Yeah,
title.
that would be the rest of that story.
Yeah. Good stuff. Sorry. We were having technical difficulties. All right. 1995 here. Toy Story was released today. Pretty cool. Featuring, of course, Tom Hanks and Tim Allen.
Well, yeah.
Hey, 1996, O.J. Simpson takes stand as hostile witness in the wrongful death lawsuit filed against him, saying it is absolutely not true. That's his quote. Absolutely not true.
But if it was.
But if it was.
But if I did it.
This is how I would have done it. Anyway, to 2017, Uber admits hackers stole personal information affecting 57 million people worldwide, but they got paid $100,000 to keep quiet about it.
Really?
Yeah. Fascinating here. Money talks, man. Money talks.
Yes, it does.
Any other events?
No other events. We got some birthdays that are worthwhile.
Tons of birthdays today, huh?
Yep.
Let's start off with Rodney Dangerfield.
Okay.
Yeah, Scarlett Johansson, Jamie Lee Curtis, Mark Ruffalo today as well.
You can keep on going. You got more? I got more.
There's more, yeah. What about, go ahead.
What about Charles de Gaulle, former president of France?
Yeah.
What about Oscar Pistorius?
Yep. Good stuff.
What else you got?
Deaths here.
Oh, no, I had a couple more birthdays.
Jamie Campbell Bower also today. He's played Vecna in Stranger Things. I'm looking forward to season 5. So.
Stranger Things is still a thing?
Yeah, it's season 5.
Those kids haven't grown up yet?
Oh, they're grown. They're like, they're grown, but I mean, it's still going, Brian. It's still going. Last season, apparently.
I clocked out after the first episode of season 3.
Yeah.
After season 2, I was pretty much done. I gave the first episode of season 3 a look. I'm like, done! By the way, it's also Abigail Adams' birthday.
Okay,
and, I like to bring in as many Louisiana athletes to this mix as possible. Happy birthday to Lloyd Cushenberry, former LSU Tiger, Lloyd Cushenberry, former Broncos center. Oh, he's current Broncos center, I think. Anyways, Lloyd Cushenberry's birthday. Oh, and Billie Jean King, tennis player Billie Jean King.
All right, yeah.
Birthday as well.
Hey, deaths today. 1955, Shemp Howard, who you may know.
No kidding. From the Three Stooges. Yep.
Of course, John F. Kennedy. Yep. And that same year, C.S. Lewis.
I was going to say, yes, John F. Kennedy and C.S. Lewis died on the same day. Yeah.
Wait, same day? I didn't realize that.
Yeah, same day, same year. They were both November 22nd, 1963. Yeah. How about that?
Wow.
Yeah. I got one more on the death side. That's the pirate Blackbeard.
All right.
Yeah. Blackbeard died on this day in 1718.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
Hey, National Days here. Substitute Educators Day.
Okay.
And Cranberry Relish Day.
Nope. I was down with the substitute
Shout out to the
educators day.
substitutes.
Yeah, that's fine. They can have their day for sure. I enjoy that thoroughly. Yeah, for National Day, what did I have? Oh no, you had the cranberry relish. Let's get out of here. We got a break. Metro Councilman Aaron Moak's up next.
Yeah, there's a short in this freaking adapter, and it's driving me insane.
Text Bo and let him know that needs to be fixed.
Okay.
Hey, how are you? Oh my word! Look at that. Okay. Can I? And one at the top. There we go. You don't care if I post that on Talk's Facebook? Okay. Okay. So when Jay Ducote was here, that was all liquor. And now it's just like tchotchkes from different guests and whatnot. So. Absolutely. I didn't even realize it on election day. How the hell were you unopposed? But you're in Central. When has anybody from Central said, "Nah, we're going to sit this one out"?
You know, keep talking. Keep talking.
I'm just.
I tell you, 7 elections, and this is the first one of them all. 7 elections, and I go unopposed, and I'm sitting there July 5th, and I'm like, what the hell am I doing now? But then you get busier than running the campaign because everybody else is running.
Right.
Hey,
Yeah.
come in for this.
Yeah. Help out. Yeah. It occurred to me on election night. I'm like, what? Because we were texting back and forth.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Do what? No. And this is going to be very high level or 10,000 foot view as well. 817 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP Mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. Time to welcome back to the studio Metro Councilman Aaron Moak. Councilman, good morning. How are you, sir?
Oh, good morning. Good morning. Glad to be here. Look,
you brought in the budget.
I did.
You brought the whole dadgum thing.
All 506 pages of it.
If that thing were in the gym, I would ask if you needed a spot.
You could definitely use it for defense. Defense purposes.
You know what? We should do that. We like that scene in Sopranos when Phil Leotardo
right.
Phil Leotardo gives the warning to what's her first name? Lorraine Caluso. Like he holds up the gun to it and shoots the phone book. I don't think a bullet would make it through that book.
I don't think it would make it through.
I don't think a bullet would make it through that book.
This is what you got when you have a $1.1 billion budget.
Yeah, we're gonna read it from start to finish.
Yes, right. We go. Let's start page 1. Let's go.
And on the first day, I'm sorry. In the beginning, I meant. Okay, so 500 plus pages here, over $1 billion, 1.1 billion and change. I assume that like literally reading this thing cover to cover is an impossibility.
Correct. Everything's an impossibility. So what we do for that is once the mayor presents the budget, the council then starts focusing in on different areas and such. And what we have is council budget hearings, to where every department, we either request it as a council member or the departments can request as their department to come before the council. We had one the other night. We had administration and finance, city court, juvenile court, the USS Kid, Live After 5, the Arts Council. They come before us and they plead their case, whether it's they need more money or they've been cut, would like that put back in, or whatever needs to happen.
Anybody ever come to you and say we're good? In fact, we can give you back a little?
Yeah, that never
happens. Okay.
Doesn't happen. And it doesn't happen on a tax proposal either. So,
Understood.
I've never heard anybody come up to us and say, "Yeah, we want to roll that back, or we want to cut that."
I would like to see it once. Just once.
Well, who knows? You might get you might get an option soon. So.
Well, a voluntary option?
I don't know.
Yeah. Well, because that's where y'all's job comes in. Is
correct.
Y'all have to drop the hammer on the bad news sometimes, and
correct. All these departments turned into the mayor based on her request of we need to do X amount of cut, and they say, okay, this is what we can do.
Yeah.
And then the mayor puts together the budget, brings it to us, and then that's where we're at now.
Okay, a couple just points of clarification here. We went to the polls on November 5th and voted in favor of 2 Breck millages.
Correct.
Are those in there?
The Breck millages will
the library stuff, the Breck stuff, all the dedicated stuff we vote for.
We do have all the dedicated stuff in here. Of this $1.1 billion, understand, only 30% of this budget is general fund money. The rest is all dedicated funds. So. Do we have an overview of it? Yes, we have a visual on it and so on and so forth. But do we have direct control of that? No, that was voted on by the people in dedicated funds.
Because while I'm admittedly a big fan of Breck, I do like we utilize.
I am too.
I see ROI from Breck. I get return on my investment from Breck. But that being said, though, they got the nod for a whole lot of money.
Correct.
The library gets a whole lot of money. Like of every place out there, there's a whole lot of money, but it's all dedicated.
Correct. So. Take it. This is where I'm at right now. Like, we have a big challenge ahead of us, not just for this year, because it's the first year and we're slowly ramping up, pulling out the funds for St. George and things like that. And I know it was a tough budget. Finance did an amazing job, but we have, over the next couple of years, it's going to be even less. And the reason we say that is all these ARPA dollars that we got that have come in, and I got the page open right here, we've got $7,814,000 of ARPA funds that are being put out for programs. Well, that money is going to be gone.
Right.
So over the next couple of years, these departments that are getting this money have to understand it's not going to be there.
Right.
Don't make it for a regular budget. So with that being said, we have to start looking at those tax dollars, those dedicated tax dollars, and holistically look at everything and say, how much do you need? How much do you have? What is the public charging for? Yes, they voted on it 5, 6, 7 years ago or a couple months ago or last month. But we have to be realistic and put everything out there to the public and say, here's all your property taxes that are dedicated. We can't move them. But over time, priorities change.
Right.
Do you want to look at this holistically? And I think that's what needs to come up here very soon.
No, I completely agree. I completely agree. So I think the dedications, and you look at, when it comes to the property taxes, there's so many just individual millages.
Right, and you vote on so many. You
cuts.
vote on so many over the years. Exactly. Death by 1,000 cuts. You vote on so many over different times and so on. You don't know how many's out there till you get the tax bill, and then you just look at the number you need to pay most of the time and pay that tax bill.
And then it's a forehead slap because eventually, it's like eating crawfish. You can eat. Nobody gets full off of one crawfish.
Right.
Then once
you have to be in for the long haul.
You look at that pile of shells and you're like, "What did I do to myself?"
You definitely have to look at it for the long run.
Right.
And there's several factors that are coming up over the next couple of years. All those ARPA funds have to be allocated by the end of this year in this budget, and they have to be spent by the end of 26.
Okay, so when it comes to the ARPA funds, $7.8 million is
just this year.
Just this year. $7.8 million is nothing to sneeze at. Are we already in the preps to make adjustments to the programs that were created or are being kept afloat based off of those funds?
So the good thing is no programs have been created for long-lasting funding through the ARPA plans.
Fantastic.
So very cognitive of that. But some of these departments get used to having that in their funding.
Yes.
For certain things. Well, that's one thing. In fact, Councilwoman Lori brought up is these departments, and most of them know, but they got to understand that you've got to start looking at this being out. Like we put in $1.2 million for police department, $1.8 million for building and grounds to catch up with stuff, youth coalition, some of these other things that we have, arts and science, arts council, but they also got cut a little bit too.
Sure. When I hear police department as part of temporary funds that are coming in, do we know, specifically what that was allocated to within the department? Or is it just goes into their budget in general?
It's got a budget in general.
Okay, because if it was something like a fleet upgrade, that's something that you would consider a one-time expense.
That's something we've done twice.
Right.
So, the $1.2 million, and that's one thing that was stated in the budget presentation is they are buying more vehicles for the police department.
Right.
And some of these ARPA funds, and I know there's nothing in for the fire department or whatever, but like myself and Councilman Knoll, in the last round, when we first started doling out the ARPA funds, we got fire trucks for not only Baton Rouge, but each department in East Baton Rouge Parish. So, those one-time funds help out. As you add to the fleet, though, you're going to have more maintenance and everything that comes around later on.
Well, yes, later on, but you also reduce the maintenance on the old fleet
Correct.
as well.
You get rid of that.
Yeah,
Correct.
there's what I'm saying is there's a responsible use for one-time funds.
Correct.
There's a way to get it done. 30% of the overall budget is what y'all actually have to work with within there. St. George took a toll out of that. How big of a toll did St. George take?
So the numbers anywhere between $35-40 million. They're still negotiating. So as far as who owes what and what goes where, they're still working on that. And that's one of the things that we brought up at these budget hearings when we had administration and finance was, how are we going to sit here and set this budget when we're not exactly sure or haven't nailed down a contract of what's going to be actually appropriated or taken out of the budget or who owes what. But with that being said, constitutional, we have to finalize this budget by December 15th.
Yes.
So we got to move forward with the numbers that we have, and we're estimating about $35 to $40 million. In
35 to 40 million.
Yes.
Now, how much of that was? And it's probably
was that
probably
30%,
an unfair
you got
question.
About $300 million.
Probably an unfair question is that how much of that was the city being too reliant upon one extension of the parish?
Yeah, that is a tough question to ask. It's the same as like when Central pulled out.
But on a bigger scale.
On a lot bigger. So when Central pulled out, we had a Walmart.
Yeah.
And the only thing that Central and St. George and those municipalities are collecting is sales tax.
Right.
All the property tax is dedicated, and then they're getting 2% of that sales tax. Overall sales tax is what they're getting.
They should be.
So correct.
Yeah.
They should be.
Right.
Right. So the whole thing comes down to is that 2% of sales tax being put back into the area, and they decided to pull it out to take out and do their own government and stuff. We're still gonna have responsibilities, whatever, and that's where the consolidated form of government comes in. We're still responsible for sewers, parish roads, and things like that.
Right.
And so those dedicated things will still come to the city parish. But there's other things, like we had a big discussion on juvenile court, okay? The whole parish uses the juvenile court, but they got cut by $78,000. Their only funding is general fund from the city parish. Okay?
Yeah.
No sales tax, no property tax, none of that kind of stuff. So there's holistic parish functions that need to be looked at and considered outside of a taxing standpoint, whether it be property tax or sales tax, because all these areas, Baker, Central, Zachary, all of them are still getting the juvenile court services because they're required by law to provide. But it's the general fund coming from the East Baton Rouge Parish, from the city parish fund. Some of it does come from different areas, but holistically, fees and stuff like that they charge, which they're not allowed to, cannot cover.
Juvenile court is one that's stood out because they've already come to see y'all, right?
Correct. They have come to see us.
What are some of the bigger ticket items that are going to be more controversial as this moves? Oh, we only got 4 minutes left. Some of the bigger ticket items as this moves forward that are going to be more controversial.
The biggest ones that we're seeing is 19th JDC, city court, juvenile court. Of course, we have the prison issue out there and public safety. So one thing I brought up, a while ago that I looked at here is of that $347 million, 55.1% of that goes to public safety. this is the breakdown of where the general fund money, 10% to transportation, interfund transfers. Anyway, public safety is 55%.
Okay.
Of the,
What,
of the
and this is a whole other topic to discuss. But of all the dedicated money that we've got, we don't prioritize public safety to the point where it is dedicated, and it's going to come out of y'all's pool.
Okay, good question. Baton Rouge Fire Department just did a property millage also.
Yes, they did.
Okay.
That's the first time they've asked for a raise in 20 years.
Correct. And that went to payroll and stuff. So general fund covers everything what their millages don't.
Okay.
Their millage that they just did was only for raises. The rest of the payroll comes out of the general fund. So then they have different millages for equipment. So it's dedicated for equipment and things like that.
Gotcha.
That's something that, again, I go back to the whole holistically looking at all these dedicated millages, and think we need to take a big picture look and get a group together to say to the public, this is everything you're paying for, you've approved over the last 50, 10, 20 years or whatever it is, and say what priorities have changed.
Right.
What do we need to take and get off a general fund and maybe rededicate to public safety?
Right, and there's the rub, because we voted for it specifically for that one purpose. Whether you're talking about the Council on Aging or the library or the Bragg Parks, no matter what it is, it's like, where are our priorities that we want to have all these nice things but not be safe at these nice things?
Correct. And look, I think Breck, library, Cats have made a massive turnaround and everything. There are purposes for these dedicated funds and all. I just don't want to see happen is if there's any extras, if there's any levelization that could be done and so on and so forth that could go to something else, and the public just doesn't know. Again, I would not call for a direct reduction in a specific one and target any particular one. Right. You have to look at it as a whole, and that's something that I think could be done along the lines, and we get everything settled, hopefully by the time all these ARPA funds end out.
We got about a minute and a half left. And I'm probably premature in asking this one as well, because that's a thick book.
Yeah.
But bloat, is there any bloat in there that we can find, trim down a little bit to make sure that the funds that are available to y'all are being used to their top priority?
So that's one thing that we're looking at. One thing that I focused on as far as bloat is there are tons of positions in East Baton Rouge Parish that employee positions that are there that haven't been filled over years and years and years.
Just Nixon.
Okay, it's sitting there, and because they're still an active position, even though it hadn't been filled, it has to be budgeted. It has to be covered in the budget. Okay, It's time to start two things. It's time to start freezing those positions or eliminating those positions. When you freeze them or eliminate them, you can then take that money and put back into the budget to be used somewhere else. And or we have to look at priorities of, I hate to say it, with St. George pulling out, what services are needed and not needed. And that's where we're at right now.
It's
that's
not
the biggest
needed part,
bloat is
we
the
have,
not needed position.
Yeah. And when you, and we recently heard when the mayor proposed the budget about the number of positions that would be frozen, that does not equate to lost jobs.
Correct. That is absolutely right. In this budget, there are no layoffs, cuts in jobs, and there's no layoff or cuts in pensions or anything else. That's a whole nother topic that we've got to look at after that study came out.
Well, I mean, if nobody's losing their job, that's a whole other editorial topic to talk about the effects of St. George.
So everybody's been saying that we need more people. We're short-staffed. We're so on and so forth. I totally understand. I've been there in business myself where I've had enough employees. I've not had enough employees. But what they're concerned about is if you freeze these positions or eliminate them, then when the time comes, it's harder to put those positions back into play, and they may not be able to fill those positions.
Okay, so yeah. That's a good point, because you don't want to just nix everything right off the bat and then have to rebuild the budget from there. Correct. With an already constricted budget. Although it's hard to look at that book and call it constricted.
This year, I think kudos to finance, the mayor's office, my council members. We got 1 month to do this. That was something that tried to get changed in plan of government where we had more time, but we got 1 month to do this. And I think this year kicks off with St. George going out. It kicks off a big change.
Well, not just St. George going out, but federal dollars rolling
Indeed.
off as well.
Correct.
So he is Metro Councilman Aaron Moak. How many times can we get you on within that month to break this thing down?
Hey, you call me anytime.
Okay.
I'll let you know after each individual meeting.
Yeah.
We still got more department meetings, probably about 2 more.
Yeah, content-wise, it's worth it because it's the things that we all need to know.
Correct.
Thank you so much for a couple minutes this morning. We rolled right past ABC News, and I'm not even the least apologetic about it. Local news, traffic, weather. Danika McKellar joins us next. That was fantastic. I knew we weren't going to be able to peg down on.
I know
anything
it gets tough.
No,
and I'm
such
sitting here. I've seen you looking at your timing, and I'm just like, okay, but it has to be the full context.
I know. Well, so this really was the table setting for the real conversation.
Right.
So, and then we'll pick this up. I'll text you. Are you
I tell you,
out for-
December 15th, I think is the end. I would say like the week before.
Okay.
Would be a really nail down time as far as where we're really going to be at. If there's any good, you see, the thing is also to amend this budget is it has to be a super majority.
Yeah.
So it's not like 7 can get together and go axe this or axe that or so on.
Right.
It has to be a super majority. So that makes it tough.
Yeah, and it's the dedicated funds part, and I get both sides of the dedicated funds argument. Because if you could take all the dedicated funds and peel 10% off the top of everything that's dedicated that has excess.
Not even asking that much.
That has excess.
When we tried to do it before, myself and Dwight, we tried to do it before, targeting, it was mosquito abatement and, oh, Lord, cats. I think it was either cats or library. It's
I think it was library because all the gorgeous libraries were built.
Correct.
And there was no way to. Maintenance cost versus construction cost are two different things.
Exactly.
And at least they should be.
So for 5 or 10 years, maybe you don't need to build this $8 million expansion or whatever. We have other, whether it's temporary priorities or something like that. And we were looking at that time 1%.
Right.
1 mil. 1 mil.
Yeah.
You know, it's that's the thing I think that needs to be looked at, and you'll see something coming up that I think is going to be a good thing.
So we had Corey on about Breck a lot. They sponsor the show. Breck sponsors the show as
good.
well. And I did my best to navigate.
That really surprised me.
That they both passed. I'm surprised they both passed. I wouldn't have been shocked if one passed or the other passed.
Correct.
But the fact that they both passed means the majority of people voted yes twice, not yes and no.
Yeah.
Like if I did not have all the information I had, I probably would have been no twice. But knowing that if you want Imagine Your Parks 3, you needed to vote yes to the second one.
Well, I think when they started this decades ago, it was always about the overall Breck, and then it became about the community parks, which is a large parks that they've done. Central got theirs, Zachary, all the different areas got their large community parks with the dog park and the course and all that. Now it goes down to the individual in the subdivision parks, in the little local walk-to things.
Those were all put in place before Imagine Your Park started.
Oh yeah.
So,
that's what Breck started at.
Right, and that's all Corey's predecessors that he's
Correct.
paying for their sins. And I'm like, there was the line I've been using is there was a time where Breck was wanting more land than the Vatican, and
people were donating land and they were accepting it, and now they're just stuck with it.
You've got the maintenance and the liability of all that land.
Exactly.
Sell that.
Yeah, I think they're working on it. Look, I'm a big supporter of Breck. Corey knows that. My friend Katrina, I always joke with her about being the owner of Breck because we've worked together since being on the Central Council with that Jackson Community Park and all. And I see all the different things, larger things that bigger city have now.
Yes.
And that's what really made me believe in Breck as far as what they're doing there. Also, Breck is working with the city parish on kind of converting a lot of their parks to help out with retention and everything. So during everything since 2016 flood, they've actually reconfigured some parks to hold more retention.
Oh yeah, not Blue Ways. not just the greenways
Correct.
for the bicycles. They're more blueways, and they're actually going to make use of them recreationally, not just functionally.
Right.
So, they've got a lot of really cool plans in place, and we'll need the funding to get it done. But at the same time, though, once everything's built, a millage is a millage, and it doesn't roll off.
Correct. And that's why, again, I think every so many years, other than just getting your property tax paper that lists the property taxes, I mean, we're talking like dedicated sales tax, dedicated property tax, everything needs to be presented and say,
John, just play Balin here. I haven't even looked at the forecast for today. And kill the mics for a second. Is Lori going to survive?
yeah. I think she will. I think it's now. I don't know what's going on in the back end with his.
It is just about that time of year again, time for the holiday season, time for all the Christmas movies to start rolling in. Could not be happier than to welcome Danika McKellar to the show. Danika, good morning. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Doing very well as well. So, a Cinderella Christmas Ball? Tell me all about it.
Yes, so this is my new Christmas movie. It's on Great American Family Channel, November 29th. I play a dance teacher from Chicago, and you may know that I was on Dancing with the Stars 10 years ago, so I love any excuse to dance in a movie. I play a dance teacher from Chicago whose father I never knew, and my birth mother died when I was young. She didn't even write his name on the birth certificate. I have no idea who he is. At the beginning of the movie, I find an old picture that I'd never seen before. My mother is wearing a wedding dress, and she's holding the hand of a man that we can't see. On the back, it says Havenshire, which is the name of a fictional country in Europe. And the date is about 9 months before I was born. So I'm like, oh my gosh, this might be the clue I've been waiting for to try to find my birth father or find family of some sort. So it takes me on an adventure to Havenshire. While I'm there, I get a job teaching the prince a very special waltz that he has to learn for what's called the Cinderella Christmas Ball. The reason it's called that is because he is to dance with various royal ladies and then choose his bride. He's not ready to do this. He doesn't want to. His mother, the queen, is insisting that this is the year. It has to happen. So he ends up teaching, and it's just so much fun and like humor in this movie and romance. He ends up helping me with my emotional search for my family. I help him learn this waltz while the pressure of this choice is coming up and the ball is nearing. This movie has everything in it. It's got the mystery, intrigue. It's got romance and fun and just happy endings all around. This movie will make you feel so Christmassy and just so good. It's one of those movies that helps to restore your faith in humanity, and people are just going to love it. And it airs the day after Thanksgiving. November 29th is the Friday right after Thanksgiving. It's Black Friday. People can go shopping, and then they can relax on the couch and sit back and watch this movie, A Cinderella Christmas Ball.
It'll be Friday, November 29th on the Great American Family Channel. Danika, you're not a stranger to the Christmas movies. You kind of dove in head first on this genre.
Yeah, this is my 11th Christmas movie in 11 years, but it's the first one that I helped to write. So you'll see my name and the writing credits. This was this movie. I was like very, very hands-on. I mean, ever since I moved from Hallmark Channel to Great American Family Channel, I've had the opportunity to be much more involved. I helped to develop the scripts. I helped to write some of them. I helped casting, editing, you name it. It's been such a pleasure and a delight to be so involved in these movies. I've been in the business forever, so it's great to be on the other side of the camera a little bit as well.
But you have been in the business forever. I mean, we all remember you as Winnie Cooper back in the day. I was a huge fan of Elsie Snuffin as well, as a big West Wing fan. Finding yourself on this career path, though, you sound unbelievably happy with this. Is this a good spot for you to be in?
Oh, I feel so blessed. I'm in a multi-picture deal with Great American Family. I get to make 2 movies a year. I'm absolutely in heaven. And I know that it's so rare, and I'm so grateful for the opportunity. So I just want to make movies to make people feel as happy and amazing as possible, and just do my best to keep doing that. If you guys keep watching them, I'll keep making them.
Well, speaking of keep watching them, Great American Family, bring us up to speed on those who might be unfamiliar with this network.
So it's a network similar to Hallmark Channel. So Bill Abbott ran Hallmark Channel for 20 years, and he started this new network. Bill Abbott. I mean, I started with Bill Abbott back at Hallmark Channel, and I really credit him for reviving my career in this way and bringing me to this genre and helping me to be a part of defining this genre in a way. So when he started a new network and asked me to move over, I was like, yes, and especially because then I had this multi-picture deal there, things I never got to do at Hallmark, and it's just been wonderful. Great American Family it's all about faith, family, and country. Really, they're uplifting movies. Literally anybody can walk in the room and they're not going to be offended. They're going to feel good. That's Bill's dedication to his audience. And yeah, these movies will make you feel amazing. You're not going to have images stuck in your head that you don't want stuck there. We really strive to make these movies. Yes, they have conflict in them, of course, but people aren't looking to solve their problems using selfishness and pettiness. People are looking to solve their problems by being good people and striving in that way. So these movies help to restore your faith in humanity. I'm so proud of Great American Family Channel. I'm so proud to get to be part of it. So I'm like a spokesperson for them, I guess, in some ways, because I really believe in it. And for me, I feel like the Wonder Years was the beginning of my career, and that was this good-natured programming, and I get to continue that. I've gotten to continue it through my career. And these movies, they in some ways feel like a continuation of that, the good-natured, wholesome programming that I got to start off with in my career.
Oh, of course, forever be remembered as Winnie from the Wonder Years. Do you get a lot of love for the West Wing these days as well?
I mean, yes. Here and there, people will say, "Hey, I loved you on the West Wing." I mean, I only did I think 9 or 10 episodes or something. I think it was season 4. It was Aaron Sorkin's last season. Yep. I remember. And I mean, that writing was just absolutely brilliant. I love that. And my character, Elsie Snuffin, I remember I auditioned for it, and in the callback, Aaron Sorkin was there. And the character was supposed to just be one scene, but I was such a fan of the show. I don't care. I want to audition even for just one scene in one episode. And after I auditioned, we got a call from my agent called and said, "Hey, so Aaron Sorkin wants to put you in, you're going to be in 3 scenes now in the episode, and they want to do at least 3 episodes with you." I'm like, "Yes, please." And it turned into 9. And what a blessing. That was a great experience.
So
Walking up and downstairs, saying dialogue, running, and the camera, you don't think about the camera operators. The characters are walking up and down these stairs all day long talking. The camera operators are walking backwards downstairs, holding us in the shot as we're talking and walking, and very impressive crew on that show.
Okay, so my last question then is, if you love that so much, have you brought any of it with you to your own writing style now that you have a hand in the writing on these movies?
Oh gosh, well that was a very particular style where the words themselves had sort of poetry to them. I don't know that I brought the West Wing style to my writing. I would not compare my writing to Aaron Sorkin. I'm more focused on the message of it, but maybe that's in my future. Who knows? Regardless, I'm super proud of these movies, and to get to bring my sensibilities of what makes a good story come to life and what makes characters fun to watch is really been my goal. And I think people are just going to love the Cinderella Christmas Ball. Again, it's Friday, November 29th, the day after Thanksgiving. I will be live posting on X during it. So if you want to watch and then check in with your phone on commercial breaks, you can see little things that I've written or ask me a question, and I'll be there for you.
She is Danika McKellar. A Cinderella Christmas Ball, November 29th, over on Great American Family. Thank you so much for a couple minutes this morning.
Thank you so much.
848 at Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. Thanks again to Danika McKellar for stopping by, and you heard that the movie will premiere on November 29th. If you're into those, look, everybody's got their guilty pleasures, right? And the the Hallmark movies, or as this one is not on Hallmark, it's on a brand new network that kind of stemmed kind of a branch out from Hallmark. You heard her tell the story right there, but it's called the Cinderella Christmas Ball. Great American Family. That's the name of the new network. So I appreciate a couple minutes of her time. We're going to get you to the outside end on the back end of Your Money Now and then checking traffic one more time. And then we're going to get out of here for the weekend. Setting up the table for next week, pun intended, as it is Thanksgiving week. As we set the table for next week, we're going to be doing our show as normal, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Then, of course, we'll take off Thanksgiving Day, but we're also taking off Black Friday as well to just kind of have a nice long weekend right there. Nice long weekend to enjoy the holiday, enjoy a little bit of time with family. So next week, look for us on the front end and not the back. Golly, I'm like recapping everything that's going on. This has been a busy week. It's just and the number of unfinished conversations that we've had thus far. Thanks again to Metro Councilman Aaron Moak for stopping by. That is an unfinished conversation that we're going to have to pick up. I mean, well, first of all, it's their city parish budget. So obviously it's of the utmost importance, but there's so many different smaller chapters within that giant book. And oh, by the way, he brought the physical budget in. I'm going to post the pictures of this bad boy up on our Facebook page. That was a thick book. Here's Your Money Now. Mary. Aaron Moak is the best. Anybody want to start a bad rumor? Bill Belichick's going to replace Brian Kelly. How's that for a rumor?
Why you want to do that?
Do what?
Why you want to do that?
Well, I don't. I'm asking. I'm asking if anyone wants to start that rumor.
Are you? Oh, okay.
I'm asking, does anybody want to start the rumor? Bill Belichick's going to replace Brian Kelly. Does anybody want to start that rumor? Well, then what's he doing on LSU's campus yesterday? Oh. I think she might be in this picture. Which one is she? Come show me.
I only know her because the roast. Remember all the guys were roasting him?
Yeah. Is that her? No.
That's not her. That's definitely not her.
Well, that's Ginger. That's my friend Ginger. She's you ever seen she handles communications for the vet school.
Oh, cool.
So when Mike the Tiger tweets, it's actually her.
What? Dude,
No.
why you gotta ruin this shit? Now you're gonna tell me that Santa Claus isn't real.
Scott.
Don't do it.
No opposable thumbs. How are you supposed to tweet with no thumbs?
Figure it out. You're living in a $2.3 million home. You can figure out how to tweet.
It's true.
You have no other,
Yeah.
how's he bringing in any income? Didn't grow up when we grew up.
How does he bring in income? He's subbing out other Tigers to the governor. That's how he's doing it. Anyway, Bill Belichick was on campus yesterday, taking a picture outside of Mike's habitat. So, I'm not saying that he's going to replace Brian Kelly. I'm just not saying that. Neither are you, right? We're not starting rumors here.
No, of course not. Why would we do that?
You go an entire month without winning a football game. You lose the number one recruit in the entire class, and Bill Belichick's on campus. JFK thinks Brian Kelly's having a rough month. I actually tweeted that last night.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. Huh? Okay.
I'll put something up. Hey, we're losing Bryce, but we could be getting Belichick.
I'll send it right after the segment. Yeah. $8:56 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Mornings with Brian Halliday and rolling right along. We're about to get out of here for the week, y'all. I was going through some notes that were left over, so I'll keep a lot of my show prep throughout the week. And I really did not want to close the book on HB9 this week. Yeah, the Neil Reiser's bill that would have had the 41 different services that were going to be taxed that weren't previously taxed. And it fell short on the House side. And I went through a few of them. I had so much material on this. It was all one-liners. It was all jokes. 100% just funny jokes. Well, some of them weren't funny. But it was breaking down not all 41 of them, but a good chunk. Like, we're going to charge a service tax on pet grooming. Great, because I want my state's budget to be based off of a well-cut golden doodle. We're going to charge personal trainers because I want my state's budget based off of fulfilling a New Year's resolution. We're going to tax marinas because I want everything based off of it was something about a yacht club. Anyway, but I had the whole of them all put together. This was about if you adding 41 new sources of revenue, 41 new items to tax. That was part of the governor's package. And I was calling it the opening more avenues of revenue package. Because if you're looking to open more avenues of revenue, that's what this was going to do. It was going to open more avenues of revenue. Or, we can call it the Omar package. Because when the governor wants a win, he turns to Omar. See, I had all of it. And now, gone. Thanks for nothing. All right, we got to hit the outside in. Let's go. I just crumpled up and threw away the outside in.
Oh, no.
I did. I was going for the sound effect, and I have it on my computer. Hang on.
I was about to say, which one?
Yeah, I don't know what. There's a whole stack. I'm like Russell Westbrook today. I missed everything. All right, we're starting off in New Orleans. NOPD is investigating a fatal shooting involving 4 victims in the French Quarter from yesterday. 1 person was arrested. Arrest warrants were issued for 2 additional suspects. The shooting was at the corner of Iberville and Royal Streets. It did result in 1 death, according to police. Keeping it in New Orleans, the U.S. Gymnastics Championships are coming to the Big Easy in 2025. The Smoothie King Center will host the championships from August 7th to the 10th. At the U.S. Championships, athletes will compete for a spot in the on the U.S. national team, which will compete in the World Championships, which is in Jakarta. Closing out in Lafayette, the Lafayette Parish School System announced yesterday that they are in a hiring freeze. This decision comes after a crucial meeting Wednesday night where the school system voted not to adopt several recommendations from their consolidated government or from their committee that was looking at recommendations. Had they adopted all of them, they would have saved in excess of $30 million. As it stands, they saved $500,000. That's going to do it for us. That puts a button on this week. Moon Griffon's coming up next. We'll see you Monday. All right, Facebook. We're gonna roll out. I got a bunch of stuff to record. My Fridays are incredibly long. I'm not trying to like whine about it, but I don't want to come in on the weekends, so I get Saturday and Sunday stuff done on Friday. For example, if you've ever heard Community Concerns on Sunday morning, I'll be doing that show a little bit later on today. Well, my Friday got all jacked up because I'm working LSU basketball at 1:30, which means I got to be there for between 12 and 12:30. So I'm on a deadline, is what I'm saying. We'll see y'all on Monday.